Shalom Mishkan David, partners with Israel, and welcome to our weekly updates. You're about to watch this week's update, what's happening in Israel, what's happening in the spirit, so you'll be educated and you'll know how to wage war against the enemies and how to pray and what to pray about. So if you're not yet a partner with Israel, please go into our mishkandavid.org website, stroll down a little bit, you'll see Give to Israel. Just click on that link over there and become a sustainable partner of Israel. With $18 a month or increments of $18, you can make a huge impact in Israel, help people, support lives, and really make a difference. So please go to mishkandavid.org, click on the Israel link, and become a sustainable partner. Now, go to the video. Shalom Mishkanite, Shalom Israel partners, and welcome to London. I guess you wonder, how come Dubi every week, every time he comes to us from another place in the globe, what is he doing there? What's the story? So I want you to know that all these last 1.5, almost 2 years, we've been accelerating our efforts to build bridges between Gentiles and Jews, between the lands of the Gentiles and Israel. You know that haven't been, I've been taking you to Israel several times. I haven't been working in tourism, since March 2020. The country was locked. Actually, it's being open right now, starting with a special format that I hope that you can take advantage and come back to Israel. But since that happened, I said, I'm not going to lay back, sit down and do nothing. I came to visit you in the States. We are traveling in Bali and I to multiple countries around the world and talking to people about God, about Israel, about the unity, about the love, the fact that we all need to be together. That one day the land of Israel and Jerusalem will be a house of prayer for all the people of the earth. And therefore we're traveling, we're not sitting back. We're taking this setback into a set up. And we're setting up all these places, all these meetings for us to be around people and explain what's happening in Israel and get them more involved in building those bridges. So that's the reason, but I'm still connected to Israel, to our special resources, to our friends. Our kids lives in Israel and we get updated all the time, and therefore I'm coming here and I have this hat of an Israel update for you because it is really important for me to let you know what's happening in Israel currently. But let's talk real quick about what's going on in the Torah portion of this week. This is the Torah portion of Vayeshalach, when Laban is eventually sending Jacob back to his promise, back to the land. Jacob takes his household. We're always committed to go back into the promise of God. But Jacob is very much afraid of his brother Esau. He knows that in between him and his promise, there's Esau and his people and his troops. So he sends him gifts and he's willing to meet with him, very much afraid. But actually Esau comes there, he waits for him, they hug each other, they just fallen on each other's neck, they kiss each other, and they have a beautiful time of peace and celebrations. And then Esau tries to convince Jacob to come back with him to his land and prosper there and visit him, but Jacob knows his target. He knows that he's aimed to go into his promise. And he says to his brother Esau, you know what, maybe next time I want to go into my promise. As he's about to cross the river Jordan, once he sends his family first in, he's encountering a night wrestling with an angel who comes to probably protect Esau. He comes to maybe convince Jacob to stay behind, not to go back into his promise. But Jacob is very much determined. Even though injured, he wrestles with this angel. To the end of the day, he actually defeats him. He holds him like a hostage in his hands. So the angel has to beg him in the morning to release him. And Jacob is just asking, okay, so I have actually something to ask for you. If you are going to be released, I need you to pray and actually bless me to go into my promise. And that's what the angel is doing. He's changing his name even into Israel, the winner, the victorious, the guy who's been with God and been with people, and he let him go free. And Jacob enters the land of Israel now as an Israel, as the victorious and not as the follower, as the second in line. He's coming there, he's building an altar to God, he unites his family, everybody into the promise of God. It's connected very well to what's happened this last week in Israel. We had a couple from Israel, a bus driver and his wife, she's also a bus driver. They were tourists in Turkey and they've been captured hostages there, claiming for espionage because they've been on a tower of communications, taking films of the area, and on the way they saw also the house of Erdogan, so they were speaking to each other. Look at this beautiful house, look how nice it is. And one of the waiters just blow the whistle, said, oh, they were taking the pictures of the house of Erdogan, whatever, and they were arrested for no reason. As innocent as they were, the Turks wanted to create a crisis with Israel, but the entire government of Israel, Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the head of the Israeli Mossad, the Special Intelligence, everybody were involved, the President of Israel, in their efforts to release this couple and bring them back home. And eventually, they were successful bringing them back home, and we never forsake our people behind. We'll do everything for our detained people, for our hostages, for anybody who's detained without any reason in other countries or anywhere else. Israel will always reach out for their people to bring them back to the promised land. That's how united we are. This poor couple, they said that they were 8 nights and 8 days in Turkey, and this was their own personal Hanukkah miracle. You know about Hanukkah. We're about to celebrate the end of the month, this Hanukkah, and this was their own private miracle that they've been released from the Turkish prison. We all seen in the past, you know, the Midnight Express film. I know that it's not really the most pleasant experience to be in a Turkish prison. So God help the people determined. They've been able to unite the whole Israel behind their stories, to put pressure on Turkey, to boycott even Turkish airlines, not to go to Turkey, to cancel vacations in Turkey. The whole people were united until this poor couple who has a special needs children here in Israel on the spectrum, they were brought back home to their children. That's how united we are, and this is how united we should stay. Us, you, everybody who loves Israel, who loves God, should always be united and care for each other. I love you a lot. Shabbat Shalom. Bye for now.